got to imagine that, after this year, the Vikings are going to move on from Cousins. Like, the way this season is shaping up, it's just going to end on a sour note, unfortunately, because he's been a great guy. Like,
Yeah.
not only for the team, but like the city and everything. And like, I saw him at the Twins playoff game, just went with his family and just sat in the outfield, like didn't sit in like the club seats or,
Oh, that's
first row
dope,
behind the
actually.
dugout. Sat in the outfield with his kids and put a hat on and some sunglasses on to try and disguise
That's
himself.
classic Kirk,
Um,
though. Like, if you watch the
that's what I
quarterback
mean.
documentary, like, that guy. I became such a Kirk Cousins fan after that documentary, and I miss him so much in Washington, dude. It's crazy. But
And trust me, there's teams that would kill to have Kirk Cousins, which I know is what's going to happen. There's going to be a team that's like, let me go out and get a veteran quarterback for a year or two, that's in a win now mode but needs a quarterback. But yeah, the Vikings are going to have a lot of questions. You could go with the Kyler route. You could go with drafting Drake May. If you don't get Caleb Williams, maybe you look at Bo Nix or Michael Penix. I don't know what route they're going to go. I think a lot of it is going to depend on whether or not they can sign Justin Jefferson to a long-term deal.
yep.
And that's the thing right now, because Jefferson, if you were unaware, Justin Jefferson been put on IR, so he's at least out for the next 4 weeks with the hamstring injury.
Yep.
If the Vikings were to lose, they got the Bears this week and then the 49ers next week. I think they lose both those, and I think they're 1-6. If they're 1-6, why even bring him back this year?
Yeah.
I mean, I
That's
really
that's the big
question.
question. I like as I wrote down J Jeff like out for 4 weeks, and then we're talking about the Kirk Cousins trade talk. I mean, even if Kirk doesn't get shipped out, with how expensive Justin Jefferson's gonna be, you gotta just sit him out for the rest of the season. I think that's the only move.
Yeah, yeah, they've got at the Bears, 49ers at home, at the Packers, at the Falcons, Saints at home. None of those are 100% wins. They're winnable
Yeah.
games. 3 or 4 of them are.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you're a Vikings fan like myself, you kind of just hope they're going to lose these. It becomes more clear on what the direction this team is heading, because right now I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do, because I could see them going, in those 5 games, let's say they beat the Bears or the Packers, one of those, and then let's say they beat the Saints. Well, then they're 3 and whatever that would be, 3-7, I think is what they would be at that point. And it's like, we're just bad enough where we're not going to get a top pick,
Yep.
but we're not good enough to make a playoff run here. And we've shot ourselves in the foot and screwed any chance that we had at getting this generational talent. We've screwed it up. And just typical Vikings.
Do you think there's a
But I
chance
don't
that
know.
they could like completely turn it around? Because this is a team that did win the division last season by a
Yeah, and what they
significant
do
margin.
last year. What they do last year, they went 11-0 in one-score games. And what are they this year? They're 1-4. And what's their record? 1-4. Coincidentally enough, that whole pendulum has just completely flipped
Good point.
the other way. And that's what I said coming into this season. I said Vikings were 11-0 in one-score games last year. If you cut that number in half, that's 5 to 6 less wins. Instead of 13-4, they're, I don't know, 7-10. So my prediction is coming into this year was 7-10, maybe 8-9. And that's what I told Jaden when we did the podcast. And it's because you got to come back down to that average at some point in time, and we're seeing it. They're arguably a flag away from maybe beating the Chiefs. Who knows? They're definitely a catch away, a TJ Hawkinson catch away from beating the Chargers. They're an interception in the red zone away from beating the Bucks. So they could very easily be 3-2, maybe 4-1 if everything went right.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
that's the thing, is they're not bad enough
Yeah.
to be that bad. That's the aggravating part. But now we have our chance with Jefferson out and the opportunity to trade Kirk to be that bad.
That's a good
But
point.
if you're going to trade Kirk Cousins, and Jaden keeps talking about it, trade Kirk Cousins for Zach Wilson. If you're going to trade Kirk Cousins for Zach Wilson, all you're doing is just oozing mediocrity, because Zach Wilson will be able to get a win or two probably with the Vikings and screw us out of a top pick.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're gonna go full tank, stop trying to figure out if there's something there with Zach Wilson. There's not. Just tank. Just start Jaron Hall at quarterback. Try and win every game that you can. aka just lose every game. Don't bring back Jefferson. Just say, hey, we're giving you a fat contract. And Caleb Williams, I think, came out and I don't know if it was a spoof of an account or what, but he came out and said like the Vikings are one of the teams that he would go to.
Why doesn't
and
that
kind
make
of wait.
sense? Like, I mean, that makes perfect sense. You link up with the best wide receiver in football, and you got a contract. Jefferson's
three
gonna
tight
get
end.
a contract. Yeah, exactly, dude. Like this is a team just waiting for a quarterback once Kirk heads out of town, and I think Caleb is a perfect fit.
Well, I love how this has become the Caleb. Well, this is the time
Yeah,
of the
the
year that we're going to
Caleb.
talk about
Yeah,
this
the
stuff. But this
Caleb
has been the
pod.
Caleb Williams show for sure.
Yeah.
But it begs the question: does he come out if the Bears have the number one pick, or does he go back to college? Because he could probably get a couple million to go back to USC for another year, press his luck, and maybe get put in a better situation.
That's a good point.
Who knows? And then what do the Bears do? Are they just like, hey, we're going to keep going with Justin Fields because I don't think we should take a chance on Drake May or Bo
And then
Nix.
you
I think
just
we should
kick
just
the
go forward with
can
this.
down the road another year. Oh my god, dude, I can't imagine. The Bears need to draft Caleb Williams, but I think the Vikings are in a great spot to do whatever they're gonna do going into the future. I mean, they've got the money to pay Jefferson, and once you pay Jefferson, then everything's just kind of like you'll figure it out as you go from there.
But you got to do it.
Yeah,
That's the thing. And he's, in my opinion, if I'm him, I'm not signing that contract if I don't know what the quarterback plan is.
yeah,
Like that's why you need to tell him either there's three options. Either A, you're going to move forward with Kirk Cousins for another year or two. I don't think that's going to happen. B, you tank and you go out and get Caleb Williams, or maybe you draft like a Drake May or Bo Nix. Or C, you go out and get like a Kyler Murray. That would be the options that I would tell Justin Jefferson that, hey, here's what we're planning on doing.
yep.
We want to sign you to a long-term deal. Which of these options do you want? I would straight up ask him. I'd be like, what do you want?
Why not?
Who do you want throwing the ball to?
Yeah, I mean, he's the franchise guy. You got to get his input on who the next quarterback is going to be because if you do sign him to a contract that is probably going to be like 6 years or something crazy for the most money you've ever seen for a wide receiver, you got to let the guy know who the quarterback's going to be. But this begs the question, man, before we move on from the Kirk Cousins talk, what is a good fit for Kirk Cousins this year? Because we talked about the Jets. I think that if the Jets were going to do something, they would have done it already, man. That's my opinion. Like, I think they're still in it. They're, like, still
Do you
somewhat in
think,
it.
let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Do you think they're just like blindly optimistic that Rodgers is going to come back?
I don't think it's even blind optimism, dude. I
You think
really...
you think he's actually from a torn Achilles? Do you think he's going to come back in 4 or 5 months?
I mean, we saw Cam Akers come back.
We need Mitch on the episode right now to dissect all this anatomy talk.
Well, I
here,
want to
but
hear Mitchell's thoughts on like the revolutionary Achilles surgery that he had because he replaced his Achilles with like a replacement Achilles basically until his shit like basically grows back. I don't even know, but
it's that ayahuasca, man.
yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like he was supposed to be in a boot still at this time. He was like basically sprint walking up the sideline in crutches the other night.
Yep.
So it's like he's obviously making a lot more progress than you would expect. We saw Cam Akers come back earlier than ever from an Achilles injury. Now it would be a lot faster for Rodgers, but who's to know? It's been like what, 2 years since the Akers injury? So it's like given his age does make it a little tougher, but I really do think that Aaron Rodgers is going to come back this season, and that is a reason why I think because Kirk, the fun part about this, has a no trade clause. So it's like,
Right.
I don't think he's going to, I heard Cam Newton, Cam Newton's basically tripping in today. But
I heard him say basically, are you going to have me come in and start? And then when Rodgers comes healthy, just come back in.
Bingo.
Like, I don't want to sign a deal to do that.
Bingo.
And he's like, or you're going to sign me to like a backup quarterback position, and I'm not going to do that either.
Bingo.
I don't know if I've ever seen a situation like this in football where you could possibly. And talking about Cam Akers, the difference there is that that's a running back that needs his Achilles for the explosive part. Rodgers, I'm not going to say he can't run because he does have some elusiveness to him, but he doesn't depend on that.
Yeah.
He's not going to need that explosiveness from the quarterback position, which is why I guess he could come back earlier than anticipated. It would be wild if they were, 2 weeks away from the season ending and they needed to win out to make the playoffs and he came back like right around Christmas time. That would be absolutely insane. And right now they're like a game out of the wild card. Like they're right there in the thick of the wild card with all these other teams.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, me and Jaden talked about last week how Zach Wilson can do enough for this team just to keep them afloat. And then once Aaron Rodgers comes back, just let go of the reins and let him take over. But this is the reason why Kirk Cousins won't go to the Jets, because there's a lot up in the air right now, and I just don't think that that's the place for him to go. I saw Bleacher Report came out with an article like 6 hours ago of the top 4 teams that they think he might end up with. Washington was on that list. It makes sense because he's been there. He's comfortable there. He's probably got people that he knows there because he spent many years in Washington. Now, I don't agree with that. I don't want us to do that. We're the projected sixth pick in the draft right now. So I think we just ride that out. I think Howe will continue to improve as the season goes on. And he's been good so far. Like, he's obviously had his moments.
He's had moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's had his moments
ups
of
and
good.
downs,
Yeah,
what you'd expect.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And then you'd expect that from essentially a rookie quarterback. Like, you're going to have those moments where you're like, what the f- are you doing? And then you're like, holy shit, this guy can actually ball.
Yeah.
So I agree with what you're saying there. I do think Washington's got some appeal because I do think that they've got some playmakers.
Yeah.
With Terry and Jahan and Curtis Samuel, among others, and a good running back room as well. So I think that there is an appeal there. But yeah, I don't know if it makes that much sense.
Yeah.
Like I could see people like pushing a lot of things to make it make sense, but like naturally it just doesn't sound like the right fit.
No. I think it's just the no trade clause that holds everything up. Last team I want to mention, then we'll move on. I think the Patriots do make some sense. Now, they are a little bit far out of the race at this point, sitting at 1-4. So it'd be a tough road back even if he brought Kirk Cousins in at this point. But I think he's a simple guy. I think he likes simple things. And I think the Patriots are a simple organization, not in a bad way. But it's military style. It's just about football. Kirk Cousins isn't a flashy guy. So despite the chains on the plane, but Kirko chains.
I guess my question with that is why not just wait till the regular season's over and then just sign him?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you trade for him, you've got first dibs at doing that, but how much are you going to have to give up to do that?